Right. Yes. So this is the first Sunday of Advent, and the first Sunday of us sort of consciously preparing for the coming of Christmas as part of our worship. I checked one or two books, and the sort of guiding theme for the first Sunday of Advent, there's four themes, and I think the tone of the song possibly sets the scene for this. The themes are hope, yearning, preparation, and confession. So that's what I've looked at for this morning. One of the readings that's given for the first Sunday of Advent is Psalm 24, a part of Psalm 24, just 3 verses really. This is the psalm that I was just referring to before we sang. And as I said, this was a psalm that pilgrims going up to festivals in Jerusalem would sing. Have I got that right? Yes, that is right. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong part of the psalm. That's why it doesn't seem right. Okay. The pilgrims would be singing this as they went to Jerusalem, and you can see the connection here. It says, "Lift up your heads, O you gates." That would be the gates into Jerusalem. "Be lifted up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle." So that is sort of preparing the way, and we can hear in that psalm the anticipation of joy at entering the sacred city and seeing the temple and going to worship there. It's a joyous call invoking God Almighty, the God of glory, to be present with them in the ritual and in the festival. Some festivals were serious, such as Yom Kippur, which centered on the sacrifice for the sins of the people, and the well-known notion of the scapegoat, the goat that was preyed on by the priest and then sent out in the desert to die, taking with it the sins of the people. Some celebrations were much more joyful, such as the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles, where they celebrated the harvest, and I imagine it would be the same sort of celebration as we enjoy. But whatever the festival was, the Jewish people had this hope of encountering God and receiving a blessing for him. In a similar way, I think Christmas is a special time for us, and we look forward to enjoying Christmas, enjoying the remembering of the story of the Nativity, the birth of God's Son into the world. So there's a strong parallel in those things and in our time of preparation through Advent. The people travelling up to Jerusalem went on a pilgrimage. We have time to prepare for what we're doing. Although there can be a spiritual journey for us through this season. Similarly to as we look forward to Easter, we have Lent, 40 days to think of what is coming and to prepare ourselves spiritually for that time. So I wonder, do we share the pilgrim's sense of hope for what is to come at Christmas? Are we sharing in that yearning for God's presence with us as we celebrate? So that is hope and yearning. And that brings us on to preparation. And I've got another Bible verse for preparation, and that's Isaiah 40, which again is, I think, a well-known passage that we use in the time of Advent. And again, I've just got 3 verses of this I'd like to read out. So the prophet Isaiah says, he talks about the voice of one calling in the desert, "Prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the wilderness a highway for our God. Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low. The rough ground shall become level, the rugged places a plain. And the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all mankind together will see it, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." And I love Christmas. I love that sense of the glory of God being revealed through Jesus coming to earth, being born to fulfill the mission that only he could fulfill. And there's so much in that reading. On one level, Isaiah was talking directly to the Jews. They were living in exile at the time, and he was encouraging them that they would return to their homeland. Every valley would be filled, every mountain would be knocked out of their way, and they would see their homeland again. They would come back to the land that God had promised them, the land where they enjoyed God's favour. So that's one level. But we can see as well in that passage, we can hear the theme of Jesus coming. And during the life of Jesus, it referred to John the Baptist, who was coming to prepare the way for Jesus, preparing people's hearts to receive the message that Jesus was going to bring. But also today, can it be relevant for us today? Do we feel ourselves like voices in the wilderness sometimes, trying to reach out to people who may not be ready to hear, trying to proclaim to people the glory of God, to any who will hear? I think there's a word for us there today. Thinking about preparation, we've already started. We've got a beautiful tree that we put up here last week. And I'm sure at home you're starting to prepare, maybe writing cards, decorating your homes, thinking about what we're going to get for Christmas, where are we going for Christmas, and all sorts of things that have to be done. Here we'll be decorating, we'll be putting up window displays, and we'll be having candles in the windows to help create that special atmosphere for the carol service and possibly other evening services. And we want people to come and to be part of that. I always find it such a blessing to find the church full at the carol service, people coming who don't normally come to church, coming and hearing the gospel. And we have a yearning for people that we know and love to come and be part of that and to hear the gospel preached in that special setting. It is something very special, I think, because Jesus is celebrated by so many people in many different ways. Perhaps this is our best opportunity to reach out to those that we know and to invite them to come and celebrate with us. In the past, we've leafleted in Cotton End and Shortstown. We don't do that now. I'm not quite sure why. Perhaps we found that it wasn't being very effective. Perhaps we were disappointed with the results and stopped. And also, Shortstown has grown so much. It would be much more difficult to leaflet the whole place. And where do you stop? We're still a small church. There is only so much we can do. But is there still a challenge that we can rise to, perhaps on a more personal level, with those who we know, those who we love? What would it take? What would we need in order to reach out to those that we know and encourage them to come and be part of this special celebration? I can throw that out as a question. It doesn't have to be a rhetorical question. If anybody's got ideas, I would love to hear them. If you have ideas and you don't like to speak up in here, please speak with leaders, and perhaps we can come up with ideas to help or strategies for outreach. And even if it's too late to think of strategies for this year, there will be next year and coming years. So in a real sense, the glory of God is revealed at Christmas when we tell the familiar story and young people come and take part in it, telling the story through the nativity play. We want others to see the glory of God for themselves and to join in and be transformed by the grace of God as we have been. But for many people, Christmas isn't a happy time. The lives of many people are touched by bereavement and other losses and loneliness. This can be a particularly difficult time for people, and Christmas for some carries its own unhappy associations. So many people don't share in our cause for celebration. As many of you know, our own lives have been touched in that way, that we lost Robert at Christmas time. But we have this great hope, and I'm not going to let that impede on our enjoyment of Christmas, our celebration of the glorious thing that God has done. There is, that celebration is still there, and we still rejoice in the message of Christmas. But whatever our circumstances are, we have something vital that they don't, and it's important that we share that. How can we reach out to people and help them to find cause to celebrate? People need to hear about the hope that we have, the sovereignty and the salvation of our God. And there are encouragements in Scripture for that. 1 Peter 3:15, Peter says, "Always be ready to give a defense to anyone who asks you to account for the hope and confident assurance that is within you. Yet do this with gentleness and respect." Perhaps we might see that as a challenge rather than an encouragement, but an encouragement from Jesus himself. In Matthew, Jesus is recorded as saying, "Do not worry about how or what you should speak, because God will give you the words to speak. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of the Father who speaks in you." So God takes some responsibility in our outreach too. He is with us when we want to reach out to others. Interesting to note that the New Testament only refers to evangelism 3 times. We're not all called to be gifted evangelists. There are not many Billy Grahams, there are not many Roger Carswells in this world. But we are all called to be witnesses, and there are over 150 references in the Old Testament to witnessing and sharing our faith. So this is what we're about. We've got a bit of time, so I'd like to share a bit more encouragement. Fran and I think maybe one or two others, went to a special service last Sunday organised by Hope in Bedford. Hope is a national organisation, again, geared up, aiming to do outreach and evangelism, to reach out to others. And that was very much the theme of last Sunday. The leader of the Hope organisation came and spoke. And Hope have had a survey commissioned, this survey. And as you can see, it's called Talking Jesus. And there's some very interesting statistics that's come out of this survey. I'd just like to share a few of them. We live in a society that seems to be moving away from God. In many ways we see this. We're told that church attendance is reducing. We certainly saw church attendance reducing during COVID. We've seen that effect quite strongly ourselves. This church is quite different to what it was just 3 or 4 years ago. But there are good things to that too. It's wonderful that new people are here who weren't here before. But how many people actually are practicing Christians? In the survey, only 6% of people claim to be practicing Christians. But the largest group by far that was surveyed, 48% of people actually do still claim to be Christian. So part of the Christian faith rather than agnostic or not sure or other different faiths. So I find that encouraging that, when we're going out, there is still a large group of people who do consider themselves Christian, so there is common ground when we're talking. The second thing was, what do people think about Jesus? I was quite surprised to find that 20% of people believe that Jesus was God in human form who lived in the first century. So again, we have common ground. 78% of people, so the vast majority of people, believe in a real Jesus and think of him in terms similar to us, the way that we think of Jesus, that he is a moral, loving, powerful, peaceful person, a spiritual person, and a leader. And what do people make of the resurrection? We might think that people have written off, any idea of the resurrection. It's not. It doesn't make logical sense in a material world, does it? But 16% of people apparently believe in the resurrection just as it's described in the Bible. And a further 29% of people believe in the resurrection, but possibly not quite as it's put over in the Bible. So again, there's common ground to discuss. How well do people know us? I must confess that the majority of my friends are all Christians, and I'm very glad for those friends, but it means that I'm not really mixing so much with non-Christians. But 66% of people, so 2/3 of people who don't claim to be Christian, do know a Christian. So how well do they know us? How many of them do we live close enough to have a relationship to talk about our faith with them? And just lastly, how do non-Christians see us? Do they think of us as being, hypocrite is a word that you quite commonly hear bandied about when people are criticising the church, but 50% of people think that we are caring people. That's nice. 62% think that we're friendly. So, we have a good audience, if you like, there. 20 to 30 people think that we're encouraging, hopeful, good-humoured, generous and authentic. And that's a good basis for starting conversations, isn't it? So, as we're thinking of Christmas, preparing for Christmas and maybe trying to reach out to people, one thought that occurred to me was, are we still doing carols in the pub? Do we still do that?
We haven't done that
Since COVID. Oh, right. Would it be too late to see whether we could get an invitation to do that this year?
We can ask.
Yeah?
Yeah, we haven't been invited. We can ask.
Yeah. Yeah, because, that was a good time. That was us as Christians, and overtly as Christians, sharing the Christian message through song, through the carols, with our local community. And it occurred to me, I don't know if we've done this before, perhaps we have, but if we had invitation cards for our services, the events over Christmas, we could hand those round to people in the pub. And why not go that stage further? I've seen some very attractive little booklets in the Christian bookshop with the story of Christmas. Why not hand those out to people? And perhaps we can offer them to our friends in this time as well and invite them along. Just some thoughts, but I'm sure you've got your own thoughts of how we can do this. So, and this can all be part of our Christmas preparation. The fourth part of our theme this morning is confession, and I think all of this leads us into confession, if you like. As I've said, I think most of us find it difficult to talk about Jesus outside of our Christian circles. It seems natural, but perhaps it shouldn't be that it's that way. Yeah. But if we confess our difficulties to God and ask him for his strength and to try and reach out and show his love to others, we can expect God to hear our prayers and respond. We can look to God to create opportunities and for us to share our faith with him and with others, or to invite others to our Christmas celebrations where they will hear the gospel. So shall we come to God now in prayer and confess our weakness and our need of him? And okay, so shall we pray?
Wait for the Christmas